Ask the Messengers, the program that deals with substance abuse, real people telling real stories. Hosted by Pastor Lester Lewis, co-host Charlize Wilkerson and Leroy Carey. Produced by David Humphreys. Where there is addiction, there is a chance for recovery. We're trying to help save lives on Ask the Messengers.
On today's show, we're going to talk about substance abuse amongst the church congregation and how they deal with it. Our special guest is the Reverend Charles Christian Adams, the presiding pastor at the Hartford Memorial Baptist Church in Detroit, and he's going to discuss some of the positive things they're doing in the community. Plus, he'll share some of his dark moments as a former drug addict himself.
I made some choices that led to my addiction to drugs and alcohol, but I was so glad that even when I got way out there, that there was treatment and recovery.
Hi, I'm your host, Pastor Lester Lewis with Ask the Messengers. Hartford Memorial Baptist Church on Detroit's West Side has been loving God and serving the community for 100 years. Dr. Charles G. Adams, senior pastor, and the father of Reverend Charles C. Adams, began pastoring at Hartford Memorial in 1969 and still is today. The current location on James Cousins near West 7 Mile Road has been the home to Hartford Memorial since 1977. And now let's go to Ask the Messenger's producer, David Humphreys, as he goes one-on-one with Reverend Charles Christian Adams.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, now tell us a little bit of background of the Hartford.
Well, we were founded in 1917 on the west side of Detroit. We were born out of necessity. The Great Migration brought many people from the south to the north at the turn of the century looking for opportunity. They found it here in Detroit, and they established communities. We were a part of the stabilization of the community, and then eventually we were part of the labor movement as Reverend Hill, who was the second pastor in our history, helped establish the United Auto Workers labor movement to help support those auto workers who were a part of his congregation.
Okay, talk about the impact of your father, the Dr. Charles G. Adams, when you were growing up.
Yeah, he's had a profound influence upon not only the religious community, but the civil rights movement and the economic development movement in the city of Detroit, and the neighborhood revitalization. He's past president of the Detroit branch of the NAACP, and he led the fight against the parks being segregated in the metropolitan Detroit area, where Detroit residents weren't allowed in Dearborn parks and different things like that. He also helped develop a McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Long John Silver, Subway restaurant, Checkers restaurant, Home Depot, a Davis Brothers auto body and collision shop. And he's just been a good pastor. At one point, people were talking about he should run for mayor, right? And Coleman Young didn't like that. And him and Coleman had a meeting. You know, Coleman could bless you out. And he ended up telling Coleman, don't worry about it. All I want to do is pastor. So he has been a pastor par excellence.
Okay. Let's talk about the programs. Now you have a Daily Senior Citizens Program, yes. Hunger Task Force, yes. Multimedia Ministry, a Resource Center and Bookstore, Scholarship and College Preparation Program, and you have the Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Now, you know, substance abuse is a major issue in the U.S.
Sure.
And so how do you deal with substance abuse amongst your congregation?
Yeah, as far as substance abuse is concerned, it is something that we take very seriously. We do have Narcotics Anonymous meetings at the church, and that deals with it head on. We used to lease land to the NCADD, the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependency. We also leased land to the Detroit Recovery Project, of which I sit on the board of the Detroit Recovery Project, which is headed by Mr. Andre Johnson. And also one of our founding members is Dr. Calvin Trent, who is the former director of the Health Department, City of Detroit, and a great advocate and fighter for substance abuse awareness, prevention, and treatment. Now, on top of that, I am in long-time recovery. I've been in recovery for over 21 years. And I bring that up because I have been very forthcoming with our congregation about my struggles with substance abuse and drug addiction and my deliverance from it. And that, I believe, has empowered people to be honest about it. And because that's the number one deterrent to recovery is a lack of honesty. You know, that is a roadblock to recovery, a lack of honesty. So religion ends up becoming a mask. Religion ends up being something that they hide behind. But when people feel the safe, that the space is safe to be honest and to share what they're going through, when you have a pastor sharing about what he's been through, it changes the whole atmosphere. People talk about their own personal experience, they talk about what their children have gone through, or what they're going through, or what their grandchildren are going through. And so I always have felt a very accommodating spirit here. So whether you're in Bible study, whether you're in NA, you can still put those kind of issues on the table, and they can be dealt with.
So do you share those moments when you were in addiction? I mean, it had to be some dark days.
Yeah, right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
And did you ever think you would come out of it like you came out of it, and become successful like you are?
One of the church mothers, I was sharing what I had gone through, and I learned that some things are better shared at the meetings rather than in the pulpit. She came up to me, she said, "Christian, I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, I knew it was bad, I didn't know." I said, "Yes, Mother, it was that bad. It got pretty rough out there, you know."
A recent study indicated that pastors across the U.S. believe that their churches should have a role in influencing the alcohol and drug use of their members, including youth alcohol and drug education programs.
So I know you got a lot of high-profile people that attend your church here.
Yeah.
So do you ever have someone say they don't want to go to a meeting or don't want to go to treatment because they don't want to be exposed to being addicted to any drugs? Do you ever have like one-on-one counseling or private meetings with those people?
Absolute confidentiality is sacred in a church setting or in a treatment environment. That has to be guarded at all costs. And there's some people where it just wouldn't do their career or their ultimate goal justice, or it wouldn't help them if they revealed a lot of the struggles that they have faced. However, I should add that personally, I don't know a lot of high-profile people who have dealt with substance abuse, quote-unquote high-profile people. So, of course, there are many things that people face other than substance abuse that are problematic in their lives, and we've all had to face issues. This is a safe environment, and those who don't share don't have to share. And but we've all had crosses to bear. We've all had valleys to cross. So in general, I'll say yes, absolutely. and also specifically regard their confidentiality. But people have, like I said, once you start sharing and you're being honest, it will draw out of people a greater willingness to be honest about what they have been through.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the opioids crisis in America, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
When an auto accident interrupts your peace of mind, your family, your life,
The law firm is the only law firm that will truly help you. They treated me like family and communicated every detail of my case. Not only are they here to fight, the law firm is here to help you.
I'm Sherry Lobb of the Lobb Law Firm. Helping you in an auto accident is our #1 priority. Call today for a free consultation. 855-HELP-YOU.
Hi, I'm Ashley Greaser, the Office Manager at Premier Supportive Services. Here at Premier, we offer a variety of services that include residential service, 24-hour residential, attended care, semi-independent, as well as many other services. So if you know of anyone that has been involved in a car accident, we are located at 17555 James Cousin, Suite 2, or you can give us a call at 313-345-3668.
I'm Artesia Washington, and I'd like to welcome you to Irvine Head Injury, where restoring you to your previous level of functioning is our goal. We offer services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, aquatic therapy, massage therapy, and counseling. An automobile accident is an unfortunate event. If you feel that you or a loved one can benefit from our services, you can be reached at 248-415-2500. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, this is your host, Pastor Lester Lewis. We're back on Ask the Messengers. We've been talking with Reverend Charles Christian Adams from Hartford Memorial Baptist Church in Detroit about serving the community and dealing with substance abuse in the congregation. We're going to go back to Ask the Messengers producer, David Humphreys, as he goes one-on-one with Reverend Adams as they discuss the opioids crisis. Plus, Reverend Adams tells about his dark days in addiction. But first, we're going to hear a couple of real stories from real people.
Yes. Could you tell us some of your darkest moments that you had while you were using?
Yes, I had plenty of darkest moments. One of the darkest moments I had, though, was when I overdosed. I woke up 2 days later, and my doctor told me I actually had died for a few seconds, or a minute or two, and was brought back. He said if I would have took one more snort, that I wouldn't be here today. So that pretty much put some fear into me for a long period of time.
I was, doing my thing, walking down Woodward, and a guy picked me up, and we went to the hotel, and I was to catch a cab to the dope house, which was basically down the street from where I lived. But I couldn't find the cab, so I started walking, and I saw a car pull up to the corner, cut his lights, and by the time I crossed where I was walking, he grabbed me from the back of my hair, and he just started attacking me, and I got up and I fought him off, and I ran into the middle of Woodward and Euclid, and I collapsed, and when I collapsed right in front of a police car, and all I can remember was them putting me on a gurney, and they said we don't have a pulse, and I heard them saying we don't have a pulse. And I guess it wasn't my time to leave here, so I fought to come back.
Hello, we're back on Ask the Messengers with Reverend Charles C. Adams. He's the presiding pastor of Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, and you gave some really good information about what you do in your church, the programs that you offer. Now I want to ask you about this opioid crisis. It's all over the news, and I want to know what your view is on what's going on with opioids.
It's terrible, and it's so insidious. You have both elements. So you have the illicit underground element of street drugs, and then they've added a layer to that with the now I can't remember the name of it. It was the drug that's like heroin. but it's more potent, and it kills people where they OD on it. And I can't remember. Fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I have buried 2 people who have died from fentanyl overdoses. Okay, it's very, very serious. But then you have to add on to it the prescription medication. And so you have that social acceptability of going to a doctor and getting a prescription, and that makes it even more difficult. That makes it as difficult as alcoholism, which is the #1 killer. Alcohol, complications due to alcoholism kill more people than heroin or crack because of its social acceptability, because it's on every corner, because you go to a restaurant, because it's in a nice, neat, colorful bottle. So that makes it more accessible to youth and to others. So once with that opioid crisis, you have both those elements going: the underground illicit element plus the over-the-counter prescription element makes it very, very insidious.
Okay, so how do you compare this current opioid crisis with the crisis of the crack cocaine back in the 80s and 90s?
Now, I admit I don't know what the statistics are, but I can tell you it's really a conundrum in that on one hand, I would say those movements never really stopped. You know, heroin never went away. When it was in the 1960s and everybody was talking about it, right, that was one time. And then they started talking about cocaine, right, and then they started talking about crack. And throughout it all, we've been kind of talking about alcohol. So now we kind of want to talk about opioids. But the fact of the matter is, you know, it's like LL Cool J used to say, don't call it a comeback because I've been here for years. You know, these drugs have never gone away. You know, crack is still, we're just not talking about crack as much anymore.
It's just not in the media.
It's not in the media anymore, but it's still difficult. And, you know, and the worst part about that is that it makes it more difficult to get the funding to treat it. And one of the problems with crack was that the relapse rate was so high that people didn't want to fund long-term treatment. So you have those outpatient treatments and, you know, different things like that, which is good, but people need long-term treatment. The more attention that the drug gets, the more resources get steered toward it.
For that. So like the president
exactly
making it an epidemic, and all of a sudden all this money is available, right?
Right.
It might not have been available back with crack.
It was at one point, back when crack was the drug that everybody had demonized, and it is a fierce demon, but it wasn't the only thing out there. Heroin was out there then. You know, I remember you go to the drug house, you get crack and a blow, is what they used to say. You know, and you get crack and heroin. Drug houses were selling, it was multiple choice. You get weed, you get crack, you get heroin. So, and into the now, we want to legalize marijuana, and pretty soon we'll be talking about the impairment and the complications that come from impairment and intoxication of marijuana. But right now, let us talk about opiates. That's fine. And if we can fight against opiate addiction, because that is very insidious in that you have that social acceptability. Even with marijuana and legalized, somebody walks in the room and they smell like they've just smoked a marijuana cigarette, that is shunned. It's looked down upon. Federal laws don't add up with the state laws. Still illegal on a federal level. So you don't have the respectability and social acceptability with marijuana, which is now legal in some states, including Michigan, that you have with opioids.
Right.
If I had a prescription bottle sitting on this desk, you would think nothing of it. Matter of fact, you might remind me, Christian, take your medicine.
Right.
And it could be the last thing I need.
do you think we can win this war on drugs?
Not the war on drugs that has been in the media, because America has never really taken it seriously, and the war on drugs has been a failure per se. But I think that the victory will be won and can be won one life at a time. Just have to fight the war differently, but it will include education, it will include money, and most of all, probably something that you want to get to, and that is prevention. That's going to be the number one element in our fight against the war on drugs.
Okay, well, we got to wrap things up. I'd like to thank you for being on the show. We're here with Reverend Charles C. Adams, presiding pastor for Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. Is there any way you want to tell people how they can get connected with your church?
Absolutely. We have service every Sunday, 7:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. We have service on Saturday night at 7 p.m. We have Wednesday night prayer meeting at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. But I'm going to tell you something about Hartford. We are open 7 days a week, and we open up at about 6 a.m., and I think the last person goes home around 9 or 10, pretty much every day. And so we are here to serve you. We have a motto here, and I think it's a theology as well. Everybody may not belong to Hartford, but Hartford belongs to everybody. That's why we're proud about the economic development. You don't have to be a Christian to work at McDonald's or KFC. But we feel that way. If you need help, or if you want to be a part of a positive agenda in building the community, like we just built a $16.5 million senior citizens housing center. If you want to be a part of that, be a resident, be a part of the solution, you can come to Hartford at any time. Just ask for Christian, and I'll be glad to get with you.
All right, once again, Reverend Charles Christian Adams.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for being on the show.
Glad to be here.
All right, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
We'll be back with some final words from our special guest, Reverend Charles Christian Adams from Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, after this break.
Hi, my name is Brenda Owens. I work at Greenfield Hair Collection, and I love doing hair. I've been doing it for almost 30 years now, actually. And I do a little bit of everything. This style right here is a pin curl. This is my weekly client, Lenise, short and sassy. She just got a fresh haircut last week. The name of the salon is Greenfield Hair Collection. We're located on Greenfield between Outer Drive and Curtis. I'm on the second level. My name is Brenda, and my phone number is 313-729-8194. Give me a call. I love what I do.
Thank you for calling the Lob Law Firm.
Injured? We can help. Call the Lob Law Firm today. Call for free consultation. 855-HELP-YOU. Millions of dollars have been recovered. No recovery, no fee. Over 40 years experience. Don't trust the insurance adjuster. The insurance adjuster works for the insurance company. But we work for you. Call today, 855-HELP-YOU. That's the Law Firm. And remember, your choice of lawyer makes a big difference.
And now, final words from Reverend Charles Christian Adams.
One thing that I have learned as a minister of the gospel is that there are two ways to look at treating drug and alcohol addiction. One is that some have the testimony that God has kept them from a lot of these behaviors and negative choices that end up leading you down that path. And for me, that represents a conscientious, intentional effort at prevention. And in many ways, I have benefited from a community that has prevented a lot of lifestyle choices that would have made my life difficult. But what I found is I still headed down the wrong road, and I made some choices that led to my addiction to drugs and alcohol. But I was so glad that even when I got way out there, that there was treatment and recovery. There was a point at which people honestly believed that once you were on drugs, you never got off. I heard one of our church mothers say, once you get on that stuff, there is no getting off. But I'm here to tell you, I am here to testify 21 years in long-term recovery that you can recover, that there is a way out. The word says that in every temptation there is a way of escape. And there is recovery. Recovery is possible if we make a conscientious, intentional effort at delivering and redeeming people, if we believe that there's no such thing as throwaways and we never give up on people. There is a way that we can help people to recover. We have to be intentional about prevention and keeping our youth and young adults from poor lifestyle choices. But let me tell you something. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God in some way. And we need to help people realize that mental illness is something that most people go through. Some are sicker than others, yes. But everybody goes through some type of mental stress and trauma that can lead to a poor lifestyle choice. But don't ever feel like there's no way out. Don't ever feel like you're all alone. There's always help, and there's always somebody out there who has gone through what you're going through right now or what you've been through. So my prayer is that this ministry and my life will lead others to a place of health and wholeness, prevention and recovery, and one day we will move from our isness to our oughtness together, from the guttermost to the uttermost together, that we will become everything that God has intended and created us to be.
God, grant me the courage to change the things I can change, the serenity to accept those I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference.